Hello, வணக்கம் என் உயிரினும் மேலான இனிய தமிழ் மக்களே எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? This is your host Venki with another episode of Southern Spice, the only Tamil program on FM radio since 2004, coming to you on Radio Zindagi 1310 AM in Parsippany, New Jersey, 96.7 FM Edison and 540 AM in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Also streaming on Southern Spice USA in our YouTube channel and RJ Venki in Facebook. So I've been doing this series of very, very captivating and interesting conversations with high schoolers from across the USA as part of the Gifted Gabber program. There's so many of them who are doing something very different, very socially relevant, and very futuristic, right? So there are so many high schoolers who are overachievers, and in that series, I'm so glad to be speaking with all of them. And today we have somebody who is, also very, very interesting. So let me give you a brief bio of who we are going to talk to. Her name is Suravi Bhatia. She's a rising senior at Acton Boxborough Regional High School in Acton, Massachusetts. Suravi possesses extensive experience in public policy and advocacy on various topics, with a primary focus on educational equity and civic engagement among young people. She's driven by the belief that education can address critical societal issues, from civic disengagement to racial injustice, by training the next generation of students to understand and engage with topics of interest. So, Suravi aspires to contribute to and learn more about the legislative process, furthering her contributions to legislative initiatives. She hopes to pursue a career in law and US politics while supporting grassroots advocacy initiatives. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Suravi Bhatia to Southern Spice. Hi, Suravi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
It's exciting to have a future US politician on our show.
Oh, you flatter me. I really hope so.
Great. So Suravi, you're doing some really very interesting work, right? When did you first notice inequities in our educational system, and what made you want to do something about it?
So, to be honest, I really started at a global level working with students in India and Afghanistan. In my freshman and sophomore years, I specifically worked with these students to teach them English. For example, students in Bangalore, in the government schools, I worked with them to develop their English skills. And I also partnered with women in Afghanistan who were not able to attend school and receive education. So, of course, that really set me on a path to have a very broad idea of what education could accomplish. Because, of course, living here in the United States, I'm so blessed to have the amazing educational opportunities of the schools around me. And, many of us also have those same opportunities. And so it's really incomparable to the experiences that these other students are having. And so that was really my number one priority at first. But then when I joined Governor Healy's Youth Climate Council as a sophomore in high school, I really became more aware of how these different aspects of how education was important were also not being addressed in schools here in the United States as well. For example, I was the environmental justice chair, and so my primary goal was to ensure that students from underrepresented communities or low-income backgrounds were not being more negatively impacted by the effects of climate change than other groups. Mm-hmm. And so part of that was ensuring that these students were able to receive civic education, to lobby for climate justice initiatives when normally they don't have the resources, to get these students involved in STEM education and STEM research to support climate restoration. And so that was a really big interest for me. And then when it came to the civic education specifically, in 2018, an act was passed, which was an act to promote and enhance civic education. And this was an act that was passed in my home state of Massachusetts to try and promote civic education among students. However, I really noticed that there were no opportunities for students to expand on the skills they were learning through the grant. So in Massachusetts, it is now required by law that all students in public high schools must complete at least 2 civics projects throughout their high school career. But there were no opportunities for students to expand these projects to really impact their community on a broader level. And so that's also something that I really became passionate about creating opportunities for students to guide their own civic education. And from there, I think that's really brought me to where I am today.
Interesting. So you've been part of several initiatives from, policy advocacy, lobbying, and even DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion work, right? So what are you working on currently? What's the biggest project that you're currently working on? I think you, somewhere along the line, I thought there was some youth leaders summit or something that was happening.
Yeah, so I have this amazing opportunity to be a part of the CARE Activator Fellows team. And
Mhm.
what we're doing is that we are creating the first Youth Leadership for Our Time Summit, which is a summit run that is all in part sponsored by CARE. CARE is the Coalition for Anti-Racism and Equity in Education, which is a 501(c) state member-driven nonprofit in Massachusetts. And what CARE is trying to do is foster social justice and equity in K through 12 education.
Mhm.
So our organization is really working to empower students and educators and communities and advocate for systemic change. So part of that is advocating for the CARE bill, which establishes comprehensive and inclusive curriculum trust funds, would ensure that students learn about the histories of different underrepresented groups, the experiences and contributions of these groups, and also give professional development and resources for teachers. And so as part of that, since us as students, we're the ones interacting with the K through 12 education system the most, right? And
Yep.
so that means that as students, we need to be mobilized.
Nice, nice. So is that what drew you to work with CARE? And how did the idea for the Youth Leader Summit come about?
So the Youth Leader Summit is really this opportunity to draw students from across Massachusetts together to not only network and learn from one another as youth leaders who have been selected by their schools for this highly selective opportunity, but to create real change through lobbying for the CARE bill, which can be rare to find. So I was really drawn to work for CARE because of this clear vision they had of a path for students to excel. And so that's something that matters a lot to me. And the idea really came about as a way for young people to get more involved in vying for educational equity. And so we really wanted to ensure that there was an inclusive way for youth from across Massachusetts to be mobilized.
Nice, nice. So so you've been working on the whole design and planning phase at this point, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Right. So how has it been working, and from mobilizing so many, schools and securing so many speakers and all of that for your summit? Um, how many schools are participating? How many speakers are there?
So I'm not going to lie, it's a very big project that is being run by an entirely student-led team. So the summit should be having around 160 attendees, 70 schools, and at least 5 speakers.
Wow. And how are you putting all this together, and how are you making sure it reflects diverse youth voices as well, right, in the process?
Yeah, so the planning process has been very extensive, starting from all the way back at the beginning of the summer.
Mhm.
And it really started as a brainstorming session of what values we wanted to represent and how we could best display CARE's mission to such a large audience of people. And so from then, we've been working on an agenda and reaching out to schools. So we painstakingly researched schools in every county of Massachusetts to create a list that was representative of each region, and then also included specialty schools where students could have very unique experiences. And so we wanted to reflect both students from Boston and Western Massachusetts as well. So for people who aren't from Massachusetts,
Mhm.
something that you might not know is that education systems in rural Massachusetts, which is in Western Massachusetts, are very, very different from schools in Boston.
Mhm.
So we really wanted to ensure that we had this wide range of experiences that were present and also give an opportunity for students from Western Massachusetts to participate in this type of event since it isn't normally accessible to them.
Okay, okay. So if everything goes the way you envision, right? What do you think the summit will do? What change will it create for students and schools across Massachusetts?
So, of course, fingers crossed, we really hope that our ultimate change is that the CARE bill will be passed. And we want to get more people mobilized in lobbying for the bill, but also in supporting CARE's message, which is ultimately to empower students, empower educators, and empower communities. And so we want to give these opportunities for underrepresented voices to shine and all around expose students to this idea of educational equity and how they can get involved.
Okay. And just a little bit more about the CARE bill itself, if you could please.
Yeah, of course. So the CARE bill establishes a comprehensive and inclusive curriculum trust fund,
Mhm.
which would support educators and their districts. And it would also ensure that students would learn about the histories, experiences, and contributions of underrepresented groups, as well as entail professional development for educators, along with public input and support for underserved communities.
Mhm. And all around, it kind of gives a better exposure, to students, I would think.
Yeah. So I truly believe that when a student sees that their history and their experience is reflected in what they're learning in school, then they're able to engage with the material better. And that's something that CARE as a whole believes. And so we really hope that the CARE bill will give students an opportunity to engage with not only their own background and see themselves represented, but also for other students to see the benefits of engaging with other perspectives, other ideas, other backgrounds, and how it can help them elevate their experience as well.
That'd be cool. So organizing these kind of summits are not easy. Believe me, I've done a lot in my time. So what's been the hardest part of organizing this summit so far for you, and how have you kind of stayed motivated through the whole challenging process?
Yeah, so of course, like I mentioned earlier, we are a student run team. I am so grateful to all of the other CARE activators who have supported me throughout this journey. They are incredible. Specifically, shout out to Aishwarya and Angela. Y'all are the best. But the hardest part has 100% been organizational because ultimately we are a group of teenagers organizing a massive summit and also managing a $10,000 budget while reaching out to schools. So it is a lot to manage. But of course, I also really appreciate this agency that we've been given. And I like to remember that even when it's a little difficult, this experience is teaching me how to perform this type of work in the future too. And the other fellows have given me so much insight into their experience. And so, such a cohesive group, we're really able to work as a whole to manage whatever comes our way.
Beautiful. So beyond this summit, beyond what you're currently doing, what do you have planned next, right, for your education equity work, and how do you hope to scale whatever impact you're setting up and creating?
So, for me, I'm currently working on both the advocacy side with organizations like CARE and the research side. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've worked on educational equity measures as the environmental justice chair of Massachusetts Governor Healey's Youth Climate Council, as well as on my grades representative at my school for the Acton Boxborough Regional School District's Leadership Coalition to End Hate and Bias Speech. And that's been an opportunity for me to get really involved at the school level. And then on the other side, in the town level, by being a diversity, equity, and inclusion commissioner for the town. And so not only that, but that was my advocacy work. I would say
Mhm.
very hands on with the community. But on the other side, I've also been able to really inform my work with research. So this past summer, I was working with the Harvard Graduate School of Education Justice in Schools team, which was an amazing opportunity to look at the ethics of all of this type of work from an academic perspective, but also to learn from past teachers and educators.
Oh, okay. So is there anything else you're doing in terms of other kind of events, community events, and smaller initiatives?
Yeah, of course, I have loved working with CARE so much, and working with the Governor's Youth Climate Council, which have been opportunities for me to make change on the state level. But beyond those opportunities, I am the co-founder of the Volley Fest, which is an event that I host in my own town in collaboration with two other towns.
Hmm.
And so beyond the summit, I really hope to bring what I've learned back to my own community and apply these new strategies to make events and programs like the Valley Fest more inclusive and impactful. And I also hope to mentor other students who are passionate about equity and help them turn their ideas into action. So for me, scaling my impact really means growing the reach of other student-led initiatives. So beyond my own work, I really hope to support others in their own work.
Terrific. So Diwali Fest is potentially what coming up now because it's Diwali in a month.
Yeah, so our the Valley Fest event, which has been hosted for about 4 years now,
Hmm.
is coming up next weekend. It's very exciting. We typically have about 3,500 attendees, and
Whoa.
yeah, it's a big deal.
Hmm.
The Valley Fest for us what came as a culmination of my efforts and other volunteers' efforts to have the Valley as a school holiday on our school's calendar. And as a result of our efforts, we were able to implement that policy change, which was an amazing accomplishment for all of us. And so the Valley Fest is an opportunity for us to celebrate that and come together as a community.
Terrific. That's wonderful, Surabhi. And what I want to ask as possibly a final question would be for those who are listening or watching right now, right? Students, teachers, parents, whoever it is, what's one thing they can do to advance education equity in their own communities, just like how you're doing?
So, to be honest, I think the number one thing I would love to remind everyone of is that your story matters. And you could have what you consider to be the most simple or uneventful life, but whether you're a student, parent, educator, or community member, your testimony can make a difference. And so if you're interested in educational equity work, you can get involved and create classrooms that celebrate diversity. So never think that your story or experience won't be helpful. Anyone can get involved on a local level with schools, school boards, school committee meetings, or get involved on a bigger scale at the state level or even the national level. So, truly, whatever will work for you, I would encourage everyone to make an impact in their own way.
Awesome. Surabhi, congratulations for having come this far and for doing what you're doing, and all the best for whatever you want to do in the future and for your political aspirations as well. I'd definitely like to see you back in Southern Spice sometime soon to talk more about all the things that you've achieved. So thanks for taking your time and coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure having you. Take care and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Suravi Bhatia from Acton, Massachusetts. And on that note, this is RJ Venki signing off from today's episode of Southern Spice. I'll come back to you with another one pretty soon. Thanks for continuing to watch and to listen. Take care. Bye bye.